I guess we'll start. I just saw we have competition by Sequoia, which probably is why the room is so empty. So my name is Eugen, of Managing Director at Russ Media. We invest into later stage marketplaces, mostly profitable. And I'm sitting here to my left with Gunther, who is the CEO of Alpinresorts, and with Chris, who's VP of Business Development at Awayco. And I won't introduce them. I'll just ask you guys to say a couple of words about your history and what your company does.
Yeah, hi there. I'm Gunther, and I'm CEO and founder of Alpinresorts.com. We are a marketplace for ski rental. So what we are doing is we bring skiers and shops together. So at the moment we are focused on Europe. So all the ski destinations in Europe, the shops are placed in these destinations. And yeah, it's all about the Alps at the moment. And yeah, that's the status.
Yeah, thanks, Gunther. Hi, my name's Chris, and I'm the VP of Business Development at Awayco. And Awayco it shares a lot with Alpinresorts, but at the same time is very different. We are an experience platform that connects people with sporting equipment that they're passionate about, and we do it in a similar way in that equipment is in stores. What makes us, I guess, a little bit different is that we started in surfing, and we only started 1 year ago. We're now in snow sports as well, and our intention is to be in some other sports. And we bring consumers and stores together, but we also bring brands and stores together. So we add a third stakeholder to our platform.
So we spoke a bit about online and offline approach to the business, and I think both companies have a very different approach. Could you, Gunther, first give us an idea of how Alpinresorts does it? How do you acquire customers? How do you think about acquiring customers? And then Chris, if you could jump in and contrast what you are doing at Awayco.
So basically, we do all our acquisitions online. So Thomas is one of our partners. He's also founder of one of the first web performance marketing agencies in Austria. So this kind of knowledge always was one of our key success factors, combined with the knowledge from my side from the market. Before I was also in the sports industry, and so we always at this stage we always focus on the online business, which is only a fraction of what's out there as a whole. So we are really working in a niche market. So the whole market has about I would say the online rental market in Europe has about 100 million of turnover.
Ski rental, right?
Online ski rental. And if you combine that with the offline turnover they do out there, I would say it's about 800 million. Yeah, just a quick overview.
Again, similar but different. We a lot of our consumer journeys actually begin in stores. We are a platform where you can book online and go into a store and pick it up. But we're also, I guess, sort of lightweight experience infrastructure for retail stores. And a lot of our consumers discover us, as actually I did as a consumer in Portugal, for the first time inside of a store, where a retailer can say, hey, would you like to try this product? And it's very easy by just booking through this platform. And then you can walk out the door without paying for it, effectively. And so we actually have a model where retail is very much a pathway online to us, just slightly adjusting the user journey from someone thinking about buying to someone thinking about trying or experiencing. Online, we are connected very much to brands who partner with us, and a lot of consumers who are on a brand website who are looking at things that their products that they might be interested in, considering purchasing and so on, have an opportunity to try that product through us in a store. That's right.
Can you maybe each describe, or maybe use an example of how the typical customer journey looks like for your business?
Well, the easiest one is that client is looking for a destination and combined with ski rental, and then probably one of our 8 brands would show up in the search engine, and the client clicks on it. He would receive on the what we call kind of a resort landing page. So there is an overview of all the shops we are offering, together with some price indications for the period selected. Then he would go on and book a category, which is very different to what Chris does. We offer categories such as with accommodation, for instance, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star. So just the quality level. Whereas you guys, you show the model and you really go deeper into that process. So as soon as the client has chosen the category, he would pay 100% of the amount, and at the spot he will be served faster because we put all the data in the interface through the interfaces in their systems, and the client would also save up to 60% of the price at the spot, dependent on destination, number of people, and the different other factors. And later, on a monthly basis, we pay the shops, deduct the commission, and basically that's our business model.
So how is that different? How does the typical customer journey look like with Awayco?
I think the best way to compare it is apples to apples, which is starting online. It's very similar in that you head to awayco.com. You actually log in first to access what's behind it. So it's more of a membership style space. And once inside, then you choose your destination in a similar way. And after that, what you see is an interface that feels much more like shopping, where you can browse products and see product descriptions, and it's all very singular. So once you found a product that you're interested in, it feels like buying, but you don't actually buy. Just simply reserve, choose your days, head into the store, and the payment happens on the platform. So when you walk into the store, they say, "Hi, Chris, I've got your booking. Take your product. It's all set up for you. Walk out of the store." That's the online to offline experience. I must say that my first experience was offline to online, where I was in Portugal on a vacation, and I'd heard about Awayco through a friend. And I saw that there was a local affiliate. And I walked in and I asked them how it worked. They simply signed me up, and then they showed me a wall of surfboards, and they said, "You can take whatever you want," which was to me just a crazy thing. So we also work in that way too. So we are very much a service to retail in that they can offer people a chance to take something without buying it.
So another topic I'd like to talk about is global versus local. You have very different approaches how you address or how you enter markets. So maybe Chris, can you start on we spoke about this before, how you set up the organization, which is all remote, and you think very differently in your approach to, a lot of the times we hear that you first have to build critical mass in one market and then move on. I think you have a very different approach to this.
Yeah, that's true. And look, I experienced this product for the first time. I'm Australian. I was living in France at the time. I now live in Norway, and I experienced Awayco for the first time in Portugal, and it's an American company. So that's sort of the global first approach that we've taken, both in terms of how we want to appear on the supply side, but also who we imagine our demand side to be. So starting global is a challenge, but something we feel is very natural considering who our client is. It's someone who moves, who is mobile, who takes a plane or train, and who maybe wants to travel a little lighter. That's our starting point. And in fact, our CEO is right here, and the initial pain point was to go surfing and not have to take the surf bag. Awayco solved that, and that's where we began. So we didn't start with a single place in mind. We started with the idea of movement in mind. And that does provide challenges because Europe is very different to the United States as a single English language market. there's a really great momentum market for having a startup versus Europe, which is much more fragmented, which views payment in a very different way, and has a lot more, I would say, rules and regulations around it too for a young startup. And that's actually something that I'm interested in hearing from you about, because setting up in Europe, I'm curious to know, how you built that. Was it country by country, town by town, or client by client? Because Alpinresorts is a company that we have known about for a while, who all of the stores that we've spoken to have spoken about very highly, and basically the dominant player that grew out of Europe, which is unique for a marketplace, I think, in sport.
At least it's our goal. Thank you for that. No, I mean, our story really started on a very low scale. I mean, everything is cash funded. We don't have, we never had investors in our company. So what we did is we went to a couple of shops. We sold them a product which did not exist. As soon as we had the critical mass of shops signed, we knew, okay, now we have the fixed fees. We have now the money to engage some developers and to get the whole thing up and running. So we started in Austria and added country by country, year by year, going through the big networks in the beginning, which means if we signed up with sports chains, like they had 300, 400 sports shops, so it was easy for the beginning to cover the supply side. So we were able to focus on the technology and development, but it was all on a very low scale because we didn't took external money from. The start was very much focused on the Alps at the very beginning. That's also why our name is Alpinresorts. So the vision was already in the brand name. As it turned out, the vision changed, the strategy changed. In 2011, we started doing everything. So we wanted to do transfers, we wanted to do accommodation. We had a product actually also for après-ski. We added ski lesson bookings, and once in a while we totally lost the focus. So basically we had a few years we didn't grow that much. We had lots of problems with technology. We had too many things, and since 2015 then we go back, totally focus on ski rental. The goal is clearly to become dominant player in the Alps first, and then we do the next steps. So first we did a lot of new things, but then we came back to the core and focus on that.
Can I just share something by contrast about North America? I used to work for a ski brand before joining Awayco, and launching that brand in North America was probably the best experience that we had in that company, because North America being a single market, single language, and very much a market where word of mouth works, was for us a moment where we really witnessed the power of launching in the United States if you do it right. Definitely, we entered the snow vertical or the mountain space with Awayco only a few months ago, and our inclination was to sort of orient more towards the United States first for that reason, because it felt simpler, it felt a bit faster, and certainly it felt more comfortable. Is that something is there a reason why you wanted to be Alps first and haven't entered the US yet?
I would say we knew the market in Europe. It's also language is easier if you're a native speaker, but it's on our agenda to go here as well. But as I mentioned before, we just follow our targets, and the first target is to really become the dominant player in the Alps, and then we do the next steps.
So the two of you are addressing the same customers, albeit in slightly different segments. Are you competition?
I'm sure we are. In this, we are. I would say we attract different kind of people. Our business is focused more, I would say, in the volume business. But it's also a matter of time, because since now, I would say people were just looking for a pair of skis and for a certain price for a certain period. As it's getting more and more popular, the whole business, also more experienced people go into the rental business. They have different expectations. They're going there looking for certain ski models, for certain ski brands, and this is what the Awayco does. And I think it's a very great concept.
Yeah, I can only agree. I actually think we're sort of validators of a market that's worth being in, and where there are actually few competitors. The sports rental market is undercultivated in terms of access, and for me, having spent 4 years in a very premium ski sports company, we saw big change of people who either owned this brand's products or didn't, but reaching out to us to find a way to get them, just to access them, either to try them or to get on them for a weekend, because it's cheaper to do that than to take the bag, or it's at least less hassle. And we saw just a new crowd of people saying they would like to access our products that was not really rentable because it was much more at the premium end. And Awayco sits there. So in a way, I think we have very different approaches to our customer and also to acquisition. But in a way, we sort of sit side by side for two very different customer groups in sport. And that is evolving very much today, I think.
And how do you think about critical density, getting back to that, international approach? I'm assuming if I'm a customer, I would like to have a certain amount of stores close to me. How do you solve that problem?
It's the famous chicken and egg problem of any platform. We are distribution first, density second. And that is justifiable on the basis that anywhere we deliver to is profitable. And that we can do things effectively and lightly, and that density is built over time through data and validation of where we should be dense and where we should be distributed. But having distribution first lets us put on a show. It lets us have a map of the world that when I open my phone and I look at what I can do where, I can say, wow, I can get a surfboard, a snowboard, and a pair of skis or a bicycle anywhere in the world whenever I want. And it's what I want. And that is very much our mission in the next, I would say, 12 to 24 months, is to put on this map of the world upon which we will lay a density.
So, Grace, you spoke a bit to how the customer is evolving. Gunther, you've been in the business since 2006, I believe. And
yeah,
even
2003,
longer.
yeah.
2003. And how do you see, what are your observations on how the customer, the consumer has evolved, in the last, this was 12 years, 13 years? Or 2003, even longer?
Yeah. I mean, as I mentioned before, I think the clients expect much more than in the past. They're much looking more for quality, for service. But it's not only about the product itself. It's also for the additional products. For instance, we provide additional insurance products, additional services offered by the shop, pickup service, delivery service, sales of lift tickets. So the whole convenience topic around the product is getting more and more important.
I think it's worth just distinguishing for everyone here that we both work in a space that is related to travel and destinations. It's very different to a convenience-based urban product where density is an immediate concern. I mean, we can achieve relative density just by having the right destinations. For example, there are 100 ski resorts in the world that most of the people go to. So density can be achieved actually quite quickly by just hitting the largest destinations where the bulk of the volume is. Would you agree with that, actually?
I would so.
Oh, thank you. But I mean, in terms of how you work, and this is something I experienced in Europe, seeing the density inside of each destination is something you've achieved very well. Take, for example, one of the largest ski resorts in Europe. I don't know, take your pick. Let's just take an example, Val d'Isère. You service almost every store in, maybe it's not Val d'Isère, but let's say it's Val d'Isère. You have a destination, and then your penetration of that destination is quite thorough.
Yeah, I mean that's always been our goal, to have a certain critical mass of the market share of each destination. For us, if you're not into that product as deep as you guys are, there is no point for a client to send him 2 kilometers away, passing on 10 or 15 rental shops, all providing the same kind of equipment. So for us, it was always important to cover the different destinations in a reasonable distance to their accommodation. We also, the aim was always to have the best shop in town, which provides the best services. They're mostly located right in the lift operator stations. And on the other hand, we also aim to have the cheapest ones, which are located not that good, a little bit apart from the center, from the city center. But this enables us to offer the whole range of products through the number of shops we have.
So I saw we have 3 minutes remaining. Are there any questions from the audience? Yes, please.
You talked a little bit about expansion into all the different countries in Europe. Just tactically speaking, between language localization, payment localization, content localization, how do you guys, kind of stack rank? What's the highest priority, or do you figure if you're going to Germany, and I guess for you earlier on in the process, but what were the key things you said, if we're going to really focus on this particular country in Europe, we need to have these things right, and I guess which ones were most important?
Well, at this stage, I don't have a concrete answer to that. We are focused for the next 1-2 seasons where we will stay for sure in Europe. But then we just go, as you mentioned before. You have a look on the biggest ski resorts. Try to put them together that you can put the organization. You can organize it very lean. For instance, if we would go to the US, for sure we would have to have an office here, and probably at this stage, I would say, will be North America to go on next. There are a couple of different very interesting destinations, such as China, but the business is totally different there. You can't compare it to other places in the world. But at this stage, it's too far away from us at the moment.
There's a practical consideration in Europe in a way that's very significant for online platforms where payment is included, and that's the use of cash. And I think you have a much better vision of that than I do. But I mean, in Switzerland, we were, we've definitely found some challenges there in that 60% of payments are made in cash. When you're an online booking platform that takes credit card, how do you work around that? And how do you continue to provide value to your stores when there is a whole generation of young people who are either paying with cash or using payment applications? So there's unique challenges in Europe that are related to habits, and that's just one example. I don't know, have you seen that also in Austria and Germany? I
mean, as far as we are concerned, it's been a different story. We started out by not paying online. The clients paid at the spot, which led us to to enormous outstanding amounts. The mentality of payment, it was not the best with the sport shops. So in the very second year, we just changed everything around, and all the clients since then pay 100% online. And it's also we are not in the store as you guys are. Basically, our customer journey ends before they enter the store. So once they are online, they have booked, and there wouldn't be a case like that.
I'm super curious. Like, how did you deal with the cash?
Two ways. The first way is you say, well, sorry, we can't do that. And the store just processes their rental themselves, which is a loss for us, and something to learn a better way to get around it. The second way is that we've seen is just it's a bit of a bootstrap, but stores create their own account with their own card, accept the cash, and then they'll put it on their account. That's not a super elegant solution, but it's been enough as we've entered that market to deal with it.
One last question, and then time's up. Yes, please.
So as a follow-up, why did you determine that you didn't want to integrate the cash networks that exist throughout Europe? Because there's many cash networks in Europe and the US. In the case of Europe, they're very disparate. So you have Payzone in the UK, you've got the German one in Germany. Was there a determination of why you didn't do that? Why didn't you go and integrate in with cash networks and let people do post-pay?
That's a really good point, and it wasn't. We haven't made a determination. We just have a to-do list.
I think the commission on these cash networks. So we're doing this with another platform we run, and the commission is quite. Let's talk. Great.
Great.
Thanks everyone for joining, and have a great rest of the afternoon.